Having joined West Ham as a 15-year-old back in 2014, Declan Rice couldn't have finished his career at the club in better fashion, captaining them to victory in the Europa Conference League, their first major silverware since the FA Cup in 1980, and their first European title since Bobby Moore lifted the Cup Winners' Cup in 1965. Following the win over Fiorentina in the final, West Ham chairman David Sullivan revealed Rice had played his last game for the club, confirming that he had turned down the club's offer of a new contract worth £200,000 a week 18 months earlier, and that he was promised he could leave. And with Arsenal heavily reported to be frontrunners for his signature, it looks increasingly likely that he will be working under Mikel Arteta in the 2023-24 season, with a fee between £90 and £100 million expected to get the deal done. But how will Rice fit into Mikel Arteta's side, and how will Arsenal need to adapt with him in the midfield? On today's episode of FD Explained, we're heading to North London. Much of the conversation surrounding the potential role Declan Rice will play at Arsenal has centred on him filling the hole left by Granit Xhaka, who is set to leave for Bayer Leverkusen. And while we'd expect him to sit alongside Thomas Partey like Xhaka has for the last 3 years, Rice offers Mikel Arteta something different from the Swiss international. In 2022-23, the Arsenal midfield evolved, with Xhaka instructed to get forward more and provide support for the front line. This meant that he was often positioned closer to Martin Ødegaard once the Gunners were in possession, rather than covering the defence next to Partey, with left-back Alexander Zinchenko covering the space he vacated in the centre of the park. And while he did marginally more defensive work than Ødegaard, Xhaka still made fewer tackles and interceptions per 90 than at any point in his Arsenal career, while his 3.2 touches in the attacking penalty area per 90 was a career high, and not far off Ødegaard's 3.5. As a result, Xhaka enjoyed his best season as a Gunner, hitting 7 goals and 7 assists in the league, while 5 yellow cards also represented his best disciplinary record in the Prem. Tasked less with breaking up play and tackling, an area he has never been particularly strong in despite spending much of his Arsenal career at the base of midfield, Xhaka excelled in the box-to-box role Arsene Wenger initially imagined for him when he signed for Arsenal back in 2016. Declan Rice, on the other hand, is excellent in the defensive phase of play, and this could see a more conventional double pivot brought back into the Gunners' midfield. In 22-23, he made 3.9 tackles and interceptions per 90 minutes, a figure only beaten by Vladimir Sofal and midfield partner Thomas Souček in the West Ham squad, and marginally at that. That's also more than double what Xhaka was managing last season, and while you could argue that Rice naturally had to do more ball winning in a side that had the worst possession stats in the league bar Bournemouth and Nottingham Forest, he was actually making more tackles and interceptions the previous season when the Hammers' possession was a lot closer to Arsenal's. Rice's ability to read the game, anticipate danger and time tackles sets him apart from most midfielders in the Premier League, let alone at Arsenal, making more interceptions than anyone in the Prem and ranking 9th for total tackles in 22-23. In this sense, he is very much an upgrade on Xhaka and will help guard against the deficiencies that cost Arsenal the Premier League title, with both Zinchenko and Partey's defensive performances dropping off towards the end of the campaign. It's perhaps fitting that Partey got dispossessed in his own half by Rice in the build-up to a penalty which paved the way for West Ham to come back from 2-0 down and contribute to the Gunners' title collapse in April. With the Englishman alongside him, such incidents should be easier to deal with, not least because once in possession he's incredibly difficult to get off the ball. In the 2021 season, no Premier League player bettered his 85% take-on success rate, and while this dropped to 55% in 22-23, it should recover in a more functional possession-based side. Though there hasn't been too much to criticise Declan Rice on during his time at West Ham, one area where he can certainly improve is in front of goal. The season just gone was his most successful from a goals perspective, scoring 4, and he has never topped 5 goal involvements or expected goal involvements in a single campaign. So at least initially, Mikel Arteta would not be able to count on Rice for goals or assists like he was able to with Xhaka last season. But this also shouldn't be a problem. Such is Rice's defensive nous, Arteta should be able to use him as a lone 6 in games against more defensive opposition that require more creativity to break down and give Partey, who is now 30, a rest. This could see Ødegaard, who is no slouch defensively himself, drop slightly deeper and the versatile Leandro Trossard utilised as the most advanced of the central midfielders, while Fabio Vieira and Emil Smith-Rowe could also be called upon for such a situation. Alternatively, if Rice is used as an 8 rather than as a 6, Arteta may choose to get more chance creation and goal threat from elsewhere in the side, perhaps by using Zinchenko as a more conventional marauding left-back rather than an inverted one, or opting for the more touchline-oriented Kieran Tierney to provide more width and overlap Martinelli on the left. With the club also targeting a right-back this summer, it feels like the coach wants to get more attacking output from the full-back positions next term. Considering that none of them created as much as one chance per 90, and Zinchenko was the only one to hit over a shot a game last term, this shouldn't be too difficult. And even from defensive midfield, Rice can aid the attack with his ability to move the ball upfield quickly. As well as being press resistant, he is also an adept ball progressor, carrying the ball towards goal almost 4,900 yards in total in 22-23. The only midfielder to beat him in this metric was Man City's Rodri. At Arsenal, Rice may not need to cover so much ground with the ball, such as the quality of passing options he'll have, but his confidence in possession and the fact he has improved this specific aspect of his game in the last 3 years suggests we could see him hit a new level at the Emirates. The same can be said for Rice's passing range. Last term, he completed 6.4 passes into the final third per 90, down from 7.3 the season before, but a significant jump from 3.9 in the 2020-21 campaign. Given Partey averaged over 8 last term, a figure he never reached before joining Arsenal, we can expect to see Rice become more productive in this part of his game too. And of course there's also the chance that he becomes a more capable final third operator at the Emirates. Rice is still only 24 and while he is well experienced has not played in a side that consistently dominate possession and are able to camp out in the opposition half. Given his technical prowess on the ball and ability to pick out his teammates, he could develop into a more attacking threat with the right coaching from Arteta. Last term, he created a chance per game for the first time in his career, and when you look at his SofaScore heat maps from the last 3 seasons, it's clear the progression he was already making under David Moyes. While his defensive numbers have stayed pretty consistent in that time, he has spent an increasing amount of time closer to the opposition box. While it may take a bit of time to adapt to Arteta's pressing system, West Ham have ranked among the bottom 3 least active pressing teams in the Prem for the last 3 years, it should also naturally bring him further up the pitch, and the skill set he already possesses will make him an asset to such a setup, able to win possession closer to goal than he did at the London Stadium, and with a more coherent attacking unit surrounding him once he does so. The improvement in Rice's all-round game over the last 3 seasons is no doubt a big factor in why he is Arsenal's top target this summer, and the Gunners' improvement in that same time period means he would enter a side in which he can take his game to new heights. As they embark on their first Champions League campaign in 7 years, Rice would arrive having just secured continental silverware. It feels like a perfect storm. So that was how Declan Rice fits in at Arsenal, but how do you see him getting on at the Emirates? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, please leave us a like and subscribe to Football Daily if you're new here. We put out an explainer like this every single week. Thanks for watching, we'll see you next time.